2, 1. What is up, Shark Nation? Welcome to another episode of the SharkPod live from Greystone Studios, or AKA my box room in Greystones. Mark Baker, how are you doing out there in Glenageary?
Very good, Luke. Very good. How are you?
Fantastic. We've got a guest here today. His name is Des Travers. How are you doing, Des?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Des, where are you sitting?
I'm sitting in my kitchen, unfortunately, with COVID now, like everybody else. Although I am classified as an essential worker, so I can't actually leave the building. But I generally, if I'm preaching to the staff to all work from home, I try and do it as much as I can myself.
Absolutely. And so just to give an intro to Des is the CEO of DPD Ireland. Delivery, everyone's, like you said, everyone's at home. It's such a big trend. It's such a big industry now, kind of not overnight, but definitely it's getting into kind of a boom area. How would you describe your role there at DPD?
I'm the CEO and I have to just keep everything moving. I have a very simple role in the business, to be perfectly honest with you. I have to keep the people moving and I have to keep the parcels moving. So that's my role.
I don't know about you, Mark, but like DPD, it seems like it's everywhere now. Shout out to Ricardo, the DPD guy that delivers here in Greystones. Always a joy. I see him in the gym sometimes as well. He does hog a certain machine for shoulders. I'm gonna maybe call him out on the SharkPod for that and maybe send that over. But shout out to Ricardo. What's the growth been like in the last year for you guys? Has it been crazy? Has it been stressful, exciting? What's the story there? It must be nuts.
It's probably been a mix of all of them. But it's interesting you say that one of our great successes of this year and of last year is that nearly everybody knows the first name of their driver. So you know Ricardo, and everybody knows a Ricardo are there. And that's been one of the things that we really try and develop in the business, this personal touch that people, the people know he's coming, they know the predict time, he knows all the stuff about him. And as I say, now you know him in the gym, and I'm surprised he's in the gym and the amount of parcels he's delivered in the day. I thought he'd be too tired for all of that. But anyway, that aside, it is interesting. But the year itself it's just been mental, really. We've had 3 peaks in 1 year. Usually we have a cyber weekend peak, which is about 40% increase in our normal volume. And we all know that's coming, and everybody in the industry knows it's coming. So you plan that to death and you make sure you get that right for the following year. But this year we had a peak in March and April, we had a peak in September, we've had the COVID peak, and the Black Friday peak, and now we're having another peak now in January with everybody being at home.
It's so in the first instance when it came out in March, did you guys kind of see that coming a little bit? Are you guys always trying to predict I know it could be hard to predict this type of thing, but
I got to tell you a funny story, right? So we spent the first 2 weeks preparing a crash plan, right? And I should have gone to the beach and lay in the beach, because I didn't know after that I wouldn't ever be able to lay in the beach for another 18 months or so. But what a waste of time that was. We prepared the worst case scenario, we prepared furloughing people, we prepared laying people off. We took it in a circular mode. So if we lose 25%, this is what we'll do. If we lose 50%, this is what we'll do. If we lose more than 50%, we're closing the doors, that type of scenario. And we sent it off. We're owned by La Poste. We sent it off to France, and 2 weeks later, we threw it in the bin. We started seeing these enormous volumes coming through the business. And look, every online retailer in the UK or in Ireland has seen a phenomenal boom to their business, and we're very fortunate that we carry a lot of those parcels.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've always wondered is, because like today I got 3 different deliveries. One was from Unpost, one was from UPS, and one was from DPD. I don't understand how that business works. As in, say if I'm a retailer, an online retailer, do I have a contract with one of those guys, or is there like a central point? Do you guys get like contracted out by like the National Post Office? How does that work?
Well, there's a multitude of things there, but the main thing is that we're all in commercial business, and we're competing against those guys that you just mentioned, right? That's your first fault, by the way, mentioning our competitors on here. But anyway, that aside, we will be in competition with all of them. We fight our corner with our service and our quality and our delivery commitments and all those sort of things. And then the shipper then would decide. And indeed, some big shippers decide to have a backup carrier, a main carrier, and then a backup carrier. and then others then determine on price, can determine on the quality of service. There's a whole load of choices for people out there, and we have 22 people either on the road or on the telesales phoning, chasing new business every day.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. Is there a big sales element to this where you know gotta manage these account management style business?
Yeah, there's a whole envelope thing. So if I take you through that journey, we have 22 salespeople, all selling, all have a roll on every week, all have to generate the new business. They'll generate the new business coming into the business. They'll hold on to the account for 13 weeks, trades for 13 weeks, and they get paid a commission, quite a sizable commission for delivering that revenue into the business. They then hand it over to the CRM team, which is customer retention management, and they then take on the account, and then they mind the account and make sure that the account stays with us. And we've been very successful. 96% of our customers, once they join us, stay with us.
Unbelievable. And there's all this going on in the background when you get your package at the door. Do you know what I mean? It's
Right.
that I never really think about it. It's just like, oh, this guy's Ricardo's just dropping this off. Amazing. So, like, Mark, have you been getting way more packages than usual? What do you think?
Yeah, I think everybody has. Well, I've been looking at because you can't go anywhere and you can't go to the shops. That's obvious. But I'm stuck here again in my home office, which is the box room, looking out the window. The amount of times I'm seeing delivery trucks just go in and out of every single house on the whole road. A lot of kind of boohoo.com and a lot of people trying on clothes, giving it back, and it's just become like that didn't exist a few years ago. You know, trying clothes on and sending things back. Once you got it in the post, you just be like, that's it. But like it seems to be evolving every day, and I don't know what direction it's going in, but I suppose the most important things for people are getting it intact, their product intact with speed. And I assume that's one of the biggest concerns that you guys have is
well,
speed.
the thing for us is the certainty rather than the speed. So the speed, we are as quick as anybody else in the marketplace, but I think the difference is the certainty. If you know that when you go online, you're going to order it, it's going to come to you, the DPD driver is going to be well dressed in the van, full livery, you know, with the proper unit to be able to. We do contactless now delivery, so you no longer sign the pad to be able to sign for it. But you've got a certainty. You know what hour it's coming, you know when it's coming, you know who sent it, you know all those things about it. So it happens, and you are kind of a little bit delighted when you order something from anywhere really, for that matter. It doesn't have to be a UK website or an Irish website, and it just rocks up the following day. And when you've got that great experience at the final mile, then that tends to go back to that again, and people form habits. And once you start a habit online, then effectively then the numbers just start to rock up. That's what happens.
I love that. Definitely the habit is really ingrained in people now. I never really shopped online that much, and maybe I work in technology and stuff like that, so I'd be kind of a good candidate for that, or a good profile as you think. But I'd only order some things online. Now it's absolutely everything. Even when things opened, I didn't really go back to doing the shopping. Like right now, like thinking of Christmas shopping in person, I would just be like, I can just sit at home and do all this really quickly, avoid queues and that type of thing. But I wonder, are you guys planning for this to take a dip maybe when things open up, when the vaccines kick in, probably like sometime next year, the way things are going? Or do you think there's going to be some stickiness?
Yeah, I think there'll be a mixture. Look, bricks and mortars, everybody would like to write off bricks and mortar now, right? And I do feel sorry. I mean, you know, we in our business don't complain about the volumes and the stress and everything else that brings that, because we know that there's a lot of people sitting at home, right, that are working in those shops and part of those businesses, and they're looking at it and saying, will we ever open again? And if we do open again, what will we be like? What size will we be? Right, all that sort of stuff. So they're the people with stress in their lives. Right, we don't have stress in our lives like that. You're not worrying about the pay packet and you know what's going to happen in terms of your security and all that sort of stuff. But there'll always be a place for the bricks and mortar. But I think now what's happened is that nearly everybody's ordering online. You know, the granny and the granddad's ordering online. The kids are basically you know, they're already got your credit card and it's already switched into their accounts, and they know where they're going and they're buying. And all of this is now all just sort of started a bit of a revolution towards what will become the norm in the future, which will be that basically you'll you know, and you hear some people doing it now where they go into a shop, try something on, and then they go back and they order it online because they find it's cheaper online and all this sort of stuff. There's a whole load of different behaviors all beginning to happen in there. And look, you take somebody like, let me give you an example. You take somebody like Nike. Now we're a big, we deliver all the Nike shoes here in Ireland, right? And they tell me that all they have to do to double their volume of shoes in Ireland is put a 40% sale on their website.
Wow.
So 40% sale, bang, out it goes. Following day, twice as many orders is available there. And it doesn't matter what you've got in the shops, right? You won't compete with a 40% sale on Nike, right? And they know that, and they know that they can control that market, and they know that they can control that desire and spend, and also effectively then can control the revenue through their business. So there's trends like that are going to happen. Black Friday will become in some places, right, a bit of a norm across the piece, because when they have to actually generate more sales, it's not like they have to go and put some sales stickers up on the windows or anything like that. They just have to stick a 30% markdown on their website, and all of a sudden the orders just come thumping through their door.
That's amazing. This is because it's something that me and Mark have been trying to crack the e-commerce thing for a long time. I had a couple of ill-fated e-commerce businesses about 15 years ago that didn't really work out. A little bit early maybe, but and me and Mark have been selling t-shirts online as well through Amazon. So like we see the power of that. It's kind of the dream to have this kind of virtual business where there's just a warehouse somewhere and you're just sending out orders all the time. I'm sure there's a lot of business out there that can scale by using delivery services. So like in a way, it's something that one thing that they don't have to worry about. It's kind of like we'll just buy that in from a DPD, you know. So loads and loads of growth potential there for people if they're thinking about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So I think people like that first thought, well, look, I just have to put a lovely website together, have to sell at the right price, right? And then I have to do the picking and packing and get it delivered, right? And the job's finished. But really it's not, right? Because it is all about the customer experience, right? The lovely website's only good enough if you've got the right number of clicks and it's easy to pay and it's easy to get it back again and all that. So it's not as simple as everybody would just like to think, that you can start a website tomorrow, right? And you're the rest of your problems are behind you. You know, there's a lot more to it for these businesses to actually get themselves successful and get enough scale and enough volume and a cheap enough picking process and a cheap enough delivery service so they can make a margin. There's a heap of work involved in that now, rather than just, well, we'll start up a new business selling t-shirts tomorrow.
And it's interesting because a lot of the media in Ireland has been pushing that narrative to those companies that are in trouble, like you mentioned before, that are not able, the brick and mortar ones that aren't able to open. They say, you know, they need to move online. That's not, without the audience or without the creative or budget for advertising or, you can't
do it overnight as well. Like a lot of companies are doing this a long time, and then you have the mom and pop shops that were told, oh, you should just go online now that this has happened. It's not as easy as that. It takes time to build up the SEO, validity and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's tough, but once you crack it, it's very, very lucrative.
Yeah, as I say, there's more failures than successes, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, where's Mark?
I was going to say, would the majority of your clients be like, would there be the huge businesses and then there's the trickle down into the smaller businesses and then the individuals? Like I assume there's a few kind of key players that have most of the market, I'd imagine.
I don't know about having. So our market is not just one market across the piece. So there are 7,500 customers in our trading with us today in Ireland. And they could be anybody that's given us 1 or 2 parcels a day to people that are giving us 8,000-9,000 parcels a day. So the 8,000-9,000 parcels a day are the brands that you'd all be well aware of. As I say, I've mentioned Nike, JD Sports, O'Neill's, Dunn Stores, Decora. There's, just about every industry that has volume. Basically, we have some, not all the market, maybe our competitors have more than their fair share, more than I'd like in terms of the marketplace. But But the reality is, as well, as I say, all these big e-commerce sites that we deal with now are the ones that have saw the pandemic and the growth in COVID in the last 12 months. I mean, we've done 4 years growth in a year, and so have they. They've done 4 years growth in a year. We're at 2024 revenue now, right, compared to where we should be. And likewise, they're in the same place, right? And the challenge for us, as I say, I'm not diminishing the other people we spoke about earlier, but the challenge for us is actually being able to scale up quick enough to be able to deal with that growth. And, you know, I've been putting new depots out there. I've been increasing my hub sortation. I've been increasing my hub sortation time. I've taken on about 800 people across the piece last September. So these are the type of things. It's not, as I say, your DPD driver that runs down the road. I now probably have 3 DPD drivers running down your road, where I used to have 1. So these are all the challenges. But as I say, who's to complain about that? It's a challenge. It's a nice challenge to have.
So the 800, that's such an impact on people's lives. Well, that's a huge number, especially in the year that we've had. And how do you even find 800 people and train them up? That's a whole other.
Yeah, that's a different world altogether. And look, with some of that, because of the speed that we had to do it, normally a driver's 5 days training for us. So he comes in the door on a Monday, he gets his new uniform, he gets his van, he does the health and safety. You know, there's a whole routine, there's a whole 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day. When we were in the pandemic, I'm afraid we skipped a couple of days because we needed them actually out delivering parcels. So we did that, and then basically now we're going back and retraining some of the people that we did. Now also, we had some people for the peak that didn't work out, and they've since left us, and we have other drivers coming in now, and other people. And be truthful, you know, being a driver for DPD is difficult. It's not, you know, anybody thinks that's easy, you know, doing 15, 20 deliveries an hour, right? All with 1 hour predict window, right? Going from the time you start in the morning to the time you finish at the end of the day. It's not an easy job. I certainly couldn't do it now. As an example, I've got a great admiration for my drivers, my people, for the job they do. But we find the people out there, and I think when there were so many people that were getting laid off, then we were one of the good news stories because we could offer some of them employment. So it was good.
Absolutely, 15 to 20 an hour. That's really, I suppose. Like I do see Ricardo absolutely legging it around with a smile on his face all over the neighborhood here. I watch him because sometimes I see that I have a package coming, so I look out the window, and then he'll have 4 or 5 houses around my house before he hits me. You know, so really, really interesting. And it's like, where do you think this is gonna go? Do you think you guys are you planning to go without, you know, giving away the state secrets? Is it another year of 800 people coming on? Is there a kind of a maximum amount that we can do in Ireland, given the size of the?
I give you an example. So we're on our busiest day last year. I think we were at 235,000 parcels through our hub, and we think that in the next 5 years we'll double that.
My God!
Wow.
So in 5 years' time, we hope to be doing 500,000 parcels a day through our hub. But that doesn't include the parcels that go into Northern Ireland direct from the UK. That's about another 70 or 80,000 a day. So but it's that sort of scale, that sort of size, and there's no reason at the moment, or there's nothing on the horizon that's going to stop us doing that. Basically, we will continue to grow and develop our business, and certainly double-digit growth is now the norm in our business anyway. So
the thought of 500,000 packages a day stresses me out. I don't know. Locked up a lot of moving pieces out there. Okay, so it sounds exciting, but also I'm sure there'll be the challenges that come along with that. What do you think, Mark Baker?
Yeah, like I was thinking before COVID and all this happened, I'm sure Brexit was on your radar. How have you guys dealt with that?
It's been difficult. It's been a difficult journey. And things that you used to do very simply in September and October now become very difficult. And there's a load of admin burdens and costs and VAT and everything else. And we're all just trying to get our heads around it now. We haven't been bad at it, but we've not been as nice and as good as we like to have been with it. The administrative systems between our system, the software company, the custom system, the console files that come in from the UK. You've got to get the exact data from your customer. You know, at the beginning, the first week, as an example, we were sending 1 in 5 parcels back because the customer didn't give us the right information on it. So that'll give you an example of the scale of the problem.
Jeez.
But we're in since about I'd say about the 14th of January, 15th of January, we all got our heads around exactly what was needed, and we've been pretty. Now, are we still happy with it? We've got a lot of work to do to get it, so it's absolutely everything is perfect in our world. But at the beginning, it was, oh my God, it was just it's like going to school every day. It's like a new school day every day. Now you're into there and you go, this is a piece of paper that says that this is the way you design the system, and you build the system to that, and you've got it right, and you go ticked all the boxes for that, and then you get into it and work in the system, and you find actually, right, that doesn't actually work the way the bit of paper told you it was going to work, and it doesn't quite exactly all fit together, you know, like cogs in a wheel, where one thing needs to integrate with another thing, and it just doesn't. It was very clunky. It was very difficult to get stuff through, and I tell you, my IT team, I take my hats off to them. I can't tell you the amount of hours and effort and energy and industry they put in. They put in every weekend for 4 weekends just to tidy it up, just to clean it up all the time. We did crazy things like we were writing scripts in real time, and no longer the test system went out the door, and basically we had to fix things on the hoof. Or you'd never do in your life, and you would think you have to do it, but we had to do it because otherwise we would have just been swamped with parcels. So it became there, and as I say to Caroline and Colin and all the team in the IT team, just amazing the job they did, amazing.
It's amazing. And Joe, there's I think I'm not sure exactly what date it was. It was sometime around Christmas. It might have been even Christmas Eve. They all came out and said that there's, you know, they have the deal and all that type of stuff, and it's going to be fine. You know, could go on business as usual. And then me and Mark with our little T-shirt business, we can't get deliveries anymore to Ireland through Amazon. What the fuck is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about a few T-shirts and not 500,000 packages, but I mean, it's something that we didn't really plan for. Then we tried to go through Germany, but because the T-shirts go through the UK to get to Ireland from Germany, it was the same problem. Like it wasn't as solved as they led us to believe. Over Christmas.
Like the reality of it was that the common sense thing for them all to do was to give us a transition period of, say, to June, right, to deal with all these things, right? A little bit of Northern Ireland. They're giving us to April in Northern Ireland, right? But they should have given us all to June, right, to deal with all of this, right, and test it properly and work it all. The political essentiality to get this deal done and get it over the line and get it closed after 2.5 years of bickering and crying and moaning and bitching about it, right, effectively, right, made it forced to hand everybody, right, and said they want basically just to do this, right, and then, as I say, we've done this, the quickest education you'll ever have is the last 25 days on Brexit, right, about what you need to do to get a parcel through, but still, I still think that in 2 months' time or thereabouts, we'll look back at it and we'll all go, well, you know, it's working now, but it wasn't great then. But, you know, we only had 2 weeks or 3 weeks of pain or 5 weeks of pain or whatever we have, right? And it's in now and it's done. And like, there's no going back. So you just got to deal with what you got to deal with. But I do agree with you and your T-shirt company. I do think you should send them by DPD from Germany into Ireland, because we don't go through the UK, and we would save you all that hassle and we could get them in for you, no problem. So
yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a key account for you guys there.
I'm looking forward to the revenue.
But anyway, so there's like, if we go back, you've been in the delivery business for a long time now. We're looking at the kind of the past there as well. Started working in Fedex back in the day, right? In Ireland. How did you get into that? It seems like you've made your whole career has been dedicated to making sure people get their stuff.
Well, I don't know. I've never been out of parcels other than my very first 4 years after school. So I started a DHL driver, sorry. I saw these sales guys all walking around with company cars, right? And I was out delivering parcels. So I thought that was a better bet. So I went to college to learn about salesmanship and marketing and all that sort of stuff. And I did that, and then basically got a guy called Jim Young, the sales manager, basically bust his door down every day, asking him when he was going to give me a sales job. And then I went from there. So I was headhunted by Fedex because of my sales track in DHL. And I was the second employee of Fedex. And what happened in Fedex was I went in selling, and I sold so many parcels that I filled the plane, and they couldn't give us another plane. So I became general manager because we couldn't get another plane, and that's how I get into management. And to be honest with you, again, another man in my life. I suppose everybody needs these people. Paul Murray gave me a chance in Fedex to become a manager when I had no managing experience other than that I kind of knew how to fill a plane up with parcels. So
what year is this? This is the 90s?
In the 80s, yeah.
80s, okay, wow. And in Ireland in the 80s, was it, like, I would imagine that it was pretty competitive with the kind of the national provider. Was that just opening up? Was that kind of...
Yeah, to be honest with you, Impost is the same. It's the same today with Impost. They're a good company, they're a good carrier for what they do, right? And they've got a different marketplace than us. And the essential part of that really is that they still have an advantage over us because they've got this postal authority regulation that allows them to move things without the full customs clearance process that we have to do. But that ends in June, and then it'll be a level playing field from June onwards. So that'll be interesting when that gives us, because that'll give us more opportunities. But I have a great admiration for Impost and the way that they go about their business. That they are a well-run company, and they know what they're doing, and they know where their marketplace is.
Absolutely. And when you were working for Fedex, was that a good learning experience for you, working for a big American company? Did you kind of take some stuff from there that maybe you weren't getting in the Ireland and the UK?
Yeah. Look, I think in every job, I suppose there's nobody can say that they went to a job and they didn't learn something from it. If they did, then they had their eyes closed and their ears closed, which is very foolish. But I learned things in Fedex about quality and service, and Fedex really truly taught its employees to believe, right, that they were the best of the best. And their service level had to be the quality at the top end. They wouldn't, they'd never accept failure as an example as being something that was within their control. Then they fixed it and they wanted to deliver it. Now, the unfortunate thing for Fedex was that the cost of doing that was far too expensive for the amount of money they were getting for the parcels. So, as I say, their P&L, I never saw their P&L because it was always in America. It was one of the things about them. But I would say the P&L was pretty frightening because of that strategy. But and then when I went into Parcel Line and opened here, then I went the exact opposite. I had a 35-line P&L every week that was scrutinized by my boss to how much money I spent in electricity, as if I turned the light bulbs on and off myself. So that was a different experience then, but again, a good one, because it does teach you, right, that the pennies count and that the small detail matter, and that you need to get into that to be able to understand your cost base in your business well. So you can grow as fast as you like, but if your costs are growing faster than your revenue, you're in big trouble. So that was my education there. So it's been a mixture of different places, to be honest with you, that I've to end up where I am now.
It's funny as well, like sometimes when you're working in a place, you don't realize that's all going to stand to you in what you're going to do next, even if it seems stressful or annoying or something like that.
Well, I remember in Parcel Line, the first couple of weeks, you had to report the week previous P&L by 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, and it was 38 lines. Right, so you had to have your numbers. So you had purchase orders and everything that you had to get on the system done, closed off. I mean, it was like manic stuff, right? Just trying to get it in. You never even really truly understood all the numbers. You just had to meet this 12 o'clock deadline, and if you didn't send it, then basically all hell broke loose, right? So you sent it at 12 o'clock. So again, another lesson. But we've taken that lesson in our business. An example: I know my P&L for last week on a Tuesday the following week. Right, and that's a cost. That's a fabulous thing when you're in a very sensitive cost business. So it's been a good lesson.
I think Mark Baker learned that lesson as well because of his accounting background. I'm sure you're on top of the accounts, Mark, more than maybe a lot of recruiting business. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. At the time when I was auditing funds in a Big Four firm, it wasn't as enjoyable, but definitely all those exams definitely stand to me as a running a business at the moment, having to analyze my own P&L and balance sheet at board meetings and stuff like that. I feel sorry for people who haven't been exposed to accounting one way or another, because it's not easy. I still struggle with my debits and credits, and that's after 3-year training contract. But it's important, very, very important.
See, I was going to educate myself in accounting. Then I realized all 3 of my brother-in-laws are all accountants. So I'm going to lean on that if I ever need advice. Yeah, so it's pretty handy. You guys can scrutinize my books. Okay. So Des, what, like, if you, so what you're in charge of is the Irish arm of this business. Is DPD UK? You mentioned that it's owned by France as well. Are you pretty much autonomous in Ireland to kind of run the business on your own, or do you have to? What's the relationship with the owner?
So I report into the CEO of DPD UK, Dwayne McDonald, right, who's I would classify as my mentor, right, and certainly a very good sounding board, and yeah, he's been fabulous and very intense guy, very much on his game, and a lot of the things that I brought in here is basically I've learned through him and from him in terms there. But we both report then into La Poste Group in France, and basically I see the guys in France 3 times a year effectively. So I see them once for the conference, which this year is virtual, which has saved me going to Paris for 2 days. I see them once to agree the budget for the following year, which again is 2 days in France agreeing the budget, and then I see them the final time to hand them a check. And as long as I go with a nice size check to them every year, then I get to do it again the following year. So that's my
straightforward. I like that idea.
And it's autonomy, and it's basically they have. So just put it into perspective, with 27 companies, we're a 11 billion euro company, right, in terms of there. So we're usually in either number 1 or number 2 in our own marketplaces, and we'll get businesses as far as South Africa, Russia, you name it, across the globe. We haven't actually done all of Asia yet, but we're certainly spreading into Asia now, and we're moving rate of knots. And some of the businesses we purchased and that were bought, and then other businesses were started afresh, but mainly in the offshore area, we've basically bought a business and then built on it from there. So
I think so. I like the idea of the autonomy in Ireland as well. We've got usually at this stage of the conversation, we jump into our lightning round, or our quick fire answer. Mark Baker's kind of party piece here on the SharkPod. These questions, they don't have to be like crazy quick answers, and they usually aren't. So feel free to expand as much as you want. Mark Baker's got a list of burning questions that he's going to share with us today on the SharkPod. Where we start here, Mark?
We start off nice and easy. What apps on your phone do you use the most?
RTE and Ulster Bank.
Nice.
That's a quick answer. Very good.
I like it. No, it's good.
RTE for the news, and Ulster Bank to see what's happened to my bank account, which generally is not me, I might add.
Okay. What time do you get up at in the morning, and what time do you go to bed?
I get up about between 6:30 and 7 o'clock in the morning, and generally working by about 8:15, 8:30, and I generally go to bed when I'm exhausted or knackered. And different weekdays, different than weekends, and probably 10 o'clock I would think probably is a normal bedtime during the week for me. And as you can see, it's now 7:15 and we're still working at this time. That's not unusual.
Is it who you know, or is it what you know?
Both.
Equally?
Well, maybe not equally, probably what you know. Like, I always struggle with this type of thing, because it kind of, so when I hire somebody and I'm going looking, so you're in the recruitment industry as an example, right? When I'm hiring somebody, right, I'm hiring solely on the attitude of the person that comes in the door, right? I don't care what your qualification is. I don't care if you have a degree or you're an accountant or you're anything else, right? If you walk in that door and you've got the right attitude, I'll give you a hearing right in there. So for me, as I said to you already in the podcast, I had different people at different times that gave me a leg up in my career. And I think everybody has people in that there. And I'd like to think that I've done that to quite a lot of people in my own organization. But don't come in and waste my time. Don't come in and sit down in front of me and think to me, right, what's DPD going to do for me? Right? Where can I see my career going in 5 years' time? Well, if you're asking me that question, you're not for me. Because the real question you should be asking is, how can I bust my chops here? Right? So that I'm your next, whatever position it is they want to be. So that's the difference, and that's there. So I think that probably answers the question better than who you know or what you know. It's not important.
Absolutely.
Good. And this,
Hey Mark,
this
I got one like to drop in there. I know this isn't our usual thing, right? But I was thinking about this earlier today because I was talking to somebody, and they're going for a big promotion into it. Obviously, it's a smaller company than DVD, but they're going for like a chief, not chief executive, chief operations style role.
Mhm.
And they're coming from a sales background, and they're great at sales. They love the whole selling thing. They do very well, you know. And it's a little bit like they can, you know, Friday is kind of a half day sometimes, you know, in this person's life.
is this you, Luke?
No, no, I love sales. I want to get. No,
It was the half day thing.
it was the half day on Friday. No, my point is like, what would you say to those people if they were going to step into a chief role? Is it for everybody? Because that's what everyone's kind of trying to get to, the CEO role, or is it sometimes if you're making good money as an individual contributor, is that okay too? Because a lot of people don't think that's okay.
Well, first of all, again, it depends on the person and the drive and the motivation and what's behind them, right? And the reason he'll either be successful or he'll fail in that is how much desire he's got to actually make it work and achieve it and make it successful. So whether it is a salesman or an operator or whatever, right, it'll be what's within him, right, actually. And if he thinks that actually the outside elements will determine that he's wrong, the internal elements of himself will determine how successful he is or where he goes. The second thing is, it is a hard jump for a salesperson to go move over to operations, right? There's always this yin and yang, right, in every business, right? And one of the things that I've had to learn over, and my sales team will laugh at this, right, but there is that you have to be a certain type of individual to be a great salesperson, right? And you have to be a little bit selfish, right? It doesn't work if you're not, right? And this is a hard thing to for people. Most salespeople will go, "Oh my God, what's he talking about there?" But it is, right, because you're on your own most of the day, and the only person that'll determine your success is you out doing your role on every day. So if you're not selfish and you're not nailing it every day, then you ain't going to make it, and that's it. Now, when you move into an operations role and you take that attitude into operations, right, you're going to fall on your face, right, because you need a team, right, and you need to be a team player, and you need to be very good at bringing people along with you and rolling with you. And when the chips are down, you need people that are going to back you and going to work with you. And they're the differences between the two. So it's an adaptable person that knows where they're going in that change. And if you can do the two of them very well, so if you can actually remember the sales bit when you're in front of a customer, right, but you can do the operations bit when you're in front of your operations team, then you've got a great chance of success.
Right, I'll pass that on. Anyway, Mark, sorry for interrupting.
Mark, will I get a fee for that, Mark?
Yeah.
That's the salesman in him. I'd actually like to ask a question. What would be some of the kind of key skill sets that you need to be a CEO of a really, really large company?
You be very well organized. That's one of the things, you can. One of the things that I did when I came into DVD, I formed my own analytical team, right? And we actually had a very good guy there, Owen Boyle, who works for me now, right? And he's now got a team, but he was on his own, and we've now got a team of 7, right, analysts that are working out. Because if you want to make good decisions, you need good information, and to have good information, you need good data, right? And if you don't have that and you don't be able to get that out of your business, right, then you're in trouble because you're making decisions on the hoof or not with the full information you've got. So one of the things I'd say to you is that you need to be well organized, and you need to know what questions to ask, and you need to be comfortable that when you're making a decision, you've got all the things in front of you that are right to make that decision, and then be confident in yourself to make the decision and take your business forward.
Very good. Okay. If you could advise somebody to learn one skill, what would it be?
It would be how to bring people with you that are not necessarily your flavor of the month.
I like that one as well. So, okay, so let's break that down for the listener. So bring people along with that flavor. Okay, so that means getting the best out of people when you're not going out for pints afterwards, maybe. But
just accept that everybody can't be right, the ideal person that you want them to be, right, and they come with a personality that, okay, you might want to change it, but you can't change it, so you accept the personality, and then you work around that, right, to make sure that you get out of the person what you want from them.
See, I love that answer, Mark. That's the one that we have never had before. So I like that one.
Yeah.
Mark, 2 more questions for Des before we let him get back to his cup of tea here.
Okay. Is there any book that you'd recommend to maybe the 18-year-old Des or somebody young in their career to help them on their way?
Any particular book?
Or even one that just had an impact on you?
Well, I tell you, I remember I remember reading all the GE books, right, when I was trying to move up the ladder myself, right? So the GE model at the time, back in the 80s and the early 90s, right, was one of the sort of was well recognized as being, it's a hard cut thrust management tool that you had to deliver. You had to be number 1 or 2 in the country. I haven't read a book recently. To be honest with you, I tend to now read autobiographies and sports books, right, rather than actually business books. So I haven't read a book that I could say to you that I would definitely say to somebody, an 18-year-old, to read, right, and actually to push through. I have to say, if I was recommending any read for MD, it'd be Bill Shankly's book on how he ran the football club. And I think there's a lot of management things in there that you can take out of it as long as you take it in a football context. So that would, I mean, I've read that book probably 3 or 4 times, but just for the pleasure of what he achieved and how he achieved it and how he went forward with it. So that would be my recommendation.
I was actually thinking of a football manager, that kind of analogy in the last question. Actually, it kind of rings true, the kind of things you were saying. I think that's all our questions. We've done them all, Luke.
It's just one more question, Mark.
Oh yeah.
So Des, would you prefer a SharkPod mug, or a T-shirt that looks like this?
Well, I'll definitely take the T-shirt rather than the mug. Thank you very much.
Right.
So,
okay, like I said, there is some delivery issues that we're going to have to iron out after this, but we will get that to you. We'll figure out the logistics afterwards. Des, thank you so much for joining us on the SharkPod tonight. It was so interesting to get an insight into something that's just, it's impacting on people's lives during the COVID stuff, and I think that it's not going away anytime soon. So thank you very much for your time tonight, and hope you see you soon.
Okay, thank you guys. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Des. Cheers.